Ooh, hey people, hello. We're doing the second part of the Q&A video today. I already filmed a first part, which I am going to leave a link for in the description box, just in case you haven't seen it yet. And in the first part, I focused on the questions that I got through YouTube. In this video, I'm going to be addressing the questions I got through Instagram. So buckle yourselves in and let's get started. My name is Chioma, by the way, just in case you've never met me before and this is the very first time you're landing on here. Make yourself comfortable. Give this video a thumbs up, and this goes to everyone. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to join the family, and I will begin now, okay? The first question is from Official Kesso, and you said, "Hello Chioma, please, I would like to hear your thoughts on ways one can make fees payments from Nigeria without going through Form A." Well, Official Kesto, can you believe that I am struggling to remember what Form A is? However, other ways that you can pay your fees, I believe, would be through electronic funds transfer. So if you've got a dollar account, I believe you can do an EFT, which is an electronic funds transfer. Another way would be through a credit card. So if you've got a credit card issued by MasterCard or Visa, I believe that can also work. Or you can do it the other creative way that some of us do it. If you know someone in Australia who needs Naira, okay, they can exchange their dollars for your Naira. Yes, some of us did that as well to be able to pay fees. The next question I will answer, okay, and this is me skipping a few because I believe that one of the questions here about requirements for dependent visa has been answered in the first part, okay? So in the interest of not making this video too long, I am not going to duplicate answers. If I have already answered a question in the first part, I will just refer you to that video. So skipping through a few comments, I will go to the next one, which is from Oshibs, and you said, "Is the tax documents compulsory during visa processing, or can I use pension instead?" Well, Oshibs, your question is not very clear in relation to what visa you're asking about, okay? So in the absence of that, I'm just going to give you a general answer. So usually for student visa applications, the only time that tax documents are required would be if you are demonstrating proof of funds using someone else as your sponsor who is not your spouse. So that someone else could be your parents or maybe other family members, or if you are showing proof of funds using your business, okay, so funds from a business, then you would need to provide tax documents. What I don't know is whether you can actually substitute pension documents for tax documents. I really am not sure. I have not come across any information regarding using pension instead. And then for other skilled migration visas, including permanent residency visas, tax documents are usually required to support work experience. Okay, so if you are claiming points for work experience or you need to demonstrate work experience as part of the requirements you need to fulfill, then tax documents are usually compulsory. However, again, I do not know whether pension documents will suffice in the absence of tax documents. Okay. Next question is from Sam Laura, and your question is, where are the best regional areas to school and get PR easily? So the best regional areas, in my opinion, would be any area outside of the major cities of Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne. Okay, so anywhere else outside of these three cities might be your best bet if you want to go regional and if you want to claim all those benefits that come with going regional, like 15 extra points towards your migration points or 5 extra points if you study at a campus located in a regional area. So I hope that answers your question. The next question is from Tosin, and you said, "Hi Chioma, I am on a student visa. I want to apply for permanent residency. What step am I to take?" All right, so a general overview of the process is, if you want to apply for permanent residency, is that you first of all identify your occupation on the skilled occupation list, apply for your skills assessment through the assessing authority of your occupation, and then fulfill all the requirements stipulated by that authority. Those requirements would be things like work experience, your education, English language, and licensing if applicable. Okay, so you have to fulfill all those requirements during the skills assessment process. If you receive a positive skills assessment out of that process, you go ahead and express interest in a visa, and if that expression of interest is approved, you apply for your permanent residency visa. So that is how it works. I have several videos on this channel going into more detail about the process, so please check the description box. I'm going to leave one that is quite detailed in there. You said you were on a student visa, so I would imagine that you're studying towards an occupation that is relevant to Australia's labor needs, and you will have to complete your studies first before you go through the processes that I just mentioned. Next question is from Gisant. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but your question is, can I start a master's or can I get my accreditation without 7 on IELTS, Master of Social Work? Well, it's up to you. First of all, look at the requirements of the Australian Association of Social Workers in terms of skilled migration. So look at those requirements and know whether you meet them. Now, if you do not meet those requirements for you to be able to apply for permanent residency directly, then you can consider studying. Now, I don't know if I have actually answered your question correctly, because your question is a bit confusing. And in terms of your accreditation, I don't know whether you mean skills assessment, okay? I am not sure. But if you're talking about the skills assessment for permanent residency, then it must be IELTS academic, and yes, it must be 7, nothing less than 7. All right, but if you're talking about accreditation, okay, to become an accredited social worker, all you need to do is to complete the relevant qualification as a social worker, which in Australia is a minimum of a bachelor degree or a master of social work. So as long as you have this, you actually do not need to fulfill any extra English requirements to become an accredited social worker. And that is why I said I am a bit confused by your question. I'm not sure whether you mean the skills assessment or accreditation, because these are two different things. But I hope that gives you some clarity. Okay, so the next question is from Henry Chooks, and you said, my second question is, well, where is your first question then, if you're talking about the second question? Okay, I have found your first question. Your first question was, can an international student work for a month or two when they get to Australia, pending when their studies start after July 1st? Okay, I'm going to give you a diplomatic answer here, all right? So officially, you're not allowed to work before the commencement of your course, but you can come into the country up to 2 months before you start your course. As a matter of fact, as long as your visa has been issued, you can hop into a plane the very next minute, and that's completely fine. However, officially, you're not supposed to start working before the commencement of your studies, okay? So that's the first part of your question. I'll go back to the second part. And you said, my second question is, can a new student come into Australia and work unrestricted hours working in aged care after July 1st? Short answer, yes. So the restrictions on work hours coming back from the 1st of July do not apply to international students, whether they are new students or existing students here in Australia already. Those restrictions do not apply if they are working in the aged care sector. Moving on to the next question. Have you liked this video? By the way, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, okay? I'm just going to be dropping this constant reminder so that you don't forget and I don't forget as well. Okay, next question is from Engineer Wisi, or is it Engineer YC? I'm not sure, but I apologize if I am murdering your name. What are the chances for an electrical engineer with over 10 years working experience in electrical power transmission? What's the easiest route for relocating with family? Well, first of all, I will point you back to the skills occupation list. Everything about skilled migration to Australia starts with that list, at least for now. I know that changes are on the way. We don't know what those changes are just yet. And so we will continue to work with the current arrangement. So under the current arrangement, you must start your skilled migration journey with the skilled occupation list. So find out whether your occupation is there, and then go a step further, find out the assessing authority for your occupation. That information is also on that list. And for your reference, I'm going to put a video in the description that will inform you or give you more insight on how to read that list correctly so that you're getting all the relevant information on that list. Yeah, so identify your occupation, find the assessing authority for your occupation, find out all the requirements you need to meet for that occupation, and make sure you're meeting all of those. So if you read up on those requirements, you will know, comparing that to your own experience, whether you stand a chance or not. That's the best thing I can say to you. And then in terms of the easiest route to relocate with family, easiest, fastest, all these things are relative. So the easiest route for you is whatever pathway you meet the requirements for. Okay, so as long as you meet the requirements for a particular visa, you would find that it is easy. Take those steps that I recommended earlier, go into the skilled occupation list and do all those things. You will know by yourself whether you stand a chance or not. Next question is from Philip, and you said, how soon will the new visa proposals be implemented? Philip, do you know something that I don't? Because if you do, please share it here. Your guess is as good as anybody else's. Nobody knows when these changes will come into effect. So basically what I'm saying is, if you know, please tell me, because I don't know. Nobody knows. It's up to the government. Next question is from Solartricity, and you said, how possible is it to change visit visa? Well, you can change your visitor visa to another substantive visa from within Australia, okay, as long as you do not have the no further stay condition on your visa. If you have that condition on your visa, then unfortunately you will need to leave the country before your visa expires and apply for another visa from outside of Australia, okay? But if you don't have that condition on your visa, you can switch to maybe a student visa or another skilled migration visa. Next question is from Magdalene, and your question is, hi Chioma, what's the percentage or surety that after paying for skills assessment you will get a job in Australia or job sponsorship visa? Take for example of IT profession. Well, I don't think anyone can give you that guarantee, because a skills assessment, it's not an application for a job, right? A skills assessment is a completely different process altogether. Skills assessments are relevant for the regulatory authority of your occupation to determine or establish that your qualifications are on the same standard as the Australian equivalent. That's just what a skills assessment is for, okay? It is not the regulatory authority or the assessing authority that will ensure that you get a job. No, that's still a responsibility that rests with you. You still have to go out there and do all the regular job hunting activities of applying, preparing your resume, attending interviews and all of that. So there is no guarantee that just because you go through a skills assessment, you're going to get a job. However, I usually advise people to do a skills assessment anyways if they are interested in employer sponsorship, because just that process of establishing the quality of your education and that your education can be considered to be on the same level standard wise with an Australian qualification, that might be an advantage to you in your job hunting, okay? But generally speaking, I don't think anybody can offer any guarantees as to how soon you will get a job or the percentage, as you said. I don't think anybody can put a number on that, okay? It still depends on all the other variables that play a part in how people land jobs, like the quality of your CV, the quality of your interview skills, and things like that. I hope that makes sense. Moving on to the next question. This is from Chini, and Chini, you said, please, I want to know about culinary school in Australia. Well, what exactly do you want to know about culinary school? Your question is not very specific, and you know, to be honest, I don't have any experience in anything culinary. I really do not even know where to start answering this question because I just don't have that experience. But I guess you can find this online depending on what exactly you are after. So are you talking about the cost of attending a culinary school, or you want to know whether there are culinary schools in Australia? I don't know what your question is about, so unfortunately I can't be more specific in my answer. And then the very last question, I believe, is from Luzelle. And you said, kindly explain the GTS to be implemented. Thank you. Okay, I think you meant the GST, which is the Genuine Student Test. I don't know what it is. I don't think anybody knows, because as of now, all we know is that the government has announced that the GTE is going to be replaced by the GST. The government has not explained what that GST is. They've not explained what it's going to look like, the format of that test. All we know is the name, which is Genuine Student Test. We don't know anything else. Okay, so unfortunately, I can't answer that. And that is all for the questions that I got on Instagram. I'm going to hop back into YouTube because I realized that after I filmed that video, a few other people have asked questions on YouTube. So let me go back in there and try to fish out the recent questions and answer them. Okay, let's kill all the birds with one stone. I have a question here from Sheyi, and you said, "Hi Chioma, thank you for taking time to make the videos. I would like to know, is it a good idea to study in regions like New South Wales and Melbourne when one has PR in mind after studies?" Well, general answer is yes, and I guess I am a bit biased here because I studied in Sydney myself and I gained permanent residency here. I didn't need to go anywhere, but I realized that the answer to this question will be dependent on the circumstance of whoever is asking this question, right? So everyone will have a different experience, and that experience will be based on all those variables that play a part in how soon or how long it will take you to gain permanent residency. For instance, your age, English language requirements. Do you need to gain work experience in your occupation? Is it a compulsory requirement or not? So all these things will play a part in how soon or how long it will take you to become a permanent resident after your studies. So it's a bit hard to answer this question, but you know, a lot of people would consider regional migration because there are more benefits in terms of skilled migration when you go regional. At least the 15 extra points you will get is something. However, even if you're getting all those migration points, you still need to meet other requirements like English language proficiency. I know I am kind of all over the place with my answer on this one, but I will not say that it is a bad idea to study in Melbourne or in Sydney. I know you said New South Wales. New South Wales is a whole state. Sydney is part of New South Wales. So if you feel like being in the big cities will impact on your migration points and you would want to boost your scores, then consider going regional. And there are lots of different regional areas within New South Wales and Victoria outside of Sydney and Melbourne. It's up to you at the end of the day. I feel like this is one of those questions that you really cannot give a straightforward answer to without knowing the particular circumstance of the person asking. Next question, and I believe this will be my last question, is from Do, or is that Do? D-O. Anyways, your question is, for those who want to immigrate to Australia and have a job as a social worker, but no experience working in this country due to lack of jobs, will he succeed in migrating or will the matter be rejected? I'm not sure if I understand your question, but what I can say is that work experience is not a compulsory requirement for migrating as a social worker. Okay, it's not a compulsory requirement, even if you are overseas trained. So I am going to point you to a video I made earlier about the skills assessment process for social workers. And this would be for both social workers who obtained their qualification overseas and social workers who have an Australian social work qualification. So please watch that video and I hope it will make sense. But on a general note, you do not need work experience as long as you have a relevant qualification to migrate to Australia as a social worker. You have to meet other requirements though. So if you meet all those requirements but you do not meet work experience requirements, it shouldn't be a deal breaker. You should still be able to get permanent residency. All right. And I believe that will be all. I have scrolled all the way up, all the way down. I can't see anything new on here. So on that note, people, make sure you have given this video a thumbs up before you go. But we have come to the end of this video and I will see you again in my next one. Bye-bye.